Well, sticking with ID8, attorneys for the doctor who performed an abortion on a 10-year-old girl and an Attorney General Todd Rokita went head-to-head in court this morning. ID8's Cody Fisher, was in the courtroom for that hearing to decide if Rokita has the right to obtain that patient's confidential health records.
Here in Marion County Superior Court, the judge only heard testimony from witnesses called by the plaintiffs in this case, and from both sides. The topic of discussion mainly is about whether or not Dr. Bernard violated HIPAA law. Inside the 7th floor courtroom, cameras were not allowed inside. Attorney General Rokita and doctors Caitlin Bernard and Amy Caldwell were not in court this morning. The hearing was to decide whether or not Rokita has the right to the health records of the doctor's patients and whether or not the investigations by the Attorney General's office into the doctors can continue. In court, there was only enough time to hear testimony from witnesses called by the plaintiffs, Dr. Bernard and Dr. Caldwell. Over the course of about 2 hours, both sides questioned 3 doctors who have decades of experience with patients. All of them testified that the release of confidential patient information to Attorney General Rokita would be harmful to both patients and doctors because it would undermine the trust needed to properly treat them. The defense argued the request for those records by Rokita as part of the Attorney General's investigation were important to determine if Dr. Bernard violated HIPAA laws that protect patient information. The Attorney General's office said after the hearing they would only be making comments about the case through court filings.
We have a lot to do, and I'd ask that you let us excuse ourselves so we can get back to the important work of the office. That's all I can say at this time.
Attorneys for the plaintiffs say Attorney General Rokita doesn't have the authority to prosecute HIPAA violations. By using consumer complaints made by people from outside of the state of Indiana to justify his investigation, he's abusing his power as Attorney General.
The hearing on the preliminary injunction is separate and apart from the merits of the underlying investigation that Mr. Rokita claims to be prosecuting. And in fact, the whole point of the injunction is to halt the investigation. So they're kind of putting the cart before the horse.
Over the weekend, the judge in the case will decide if Dr. Bernard will be forced to take the stand next week when the hearing resumes. The defense will get their opportunity to call witnesses to the stand on Monday. So now both sides in this case have the weekend to prepare for that hearing. Reporting outside of Marion County Superior Court, Cody Fisher, IT8.